It's Transformers96 here with another video review. This time we have the Hot Toys Ant-Man. So this is a figure I was very excited to get. The box is pretty standard size-wise. It does have a really interesting, unique type of design at the front. It's you know, they really tried to do a neat design with a lot of different shapes and colors, and having like the silhouette of a running Ant-Man, but with a picture of a close-up on the face of Ant-Man inside that silhouette. Very neat. I do enjoy this box. It's a little strange. It's a little hard to tell what's going on unless you just actually like look at it for a little bit. Yeah, interesting box. I think it looks neat. Would have loved to see what they do with the Yellow Jacket box in the same design. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't look like we're getting that Yellow Jacket. Super disappointed about that. But yeah, so let's go over this figure. But before we go into the actual figure, let's go over his accessories. So as far as hands go, you get a fair selection of them. You get, of course, pair of fists, pair of relaxed palms, pair of kind of open grasping or gestural hands, and then you have a right hand that's meant to look like he's about to push the button to make him shrink, or, you know, in the case of Civil War, grow. And then he does have one other hand that has the thumb pretty close to the index finger, where you can actually like slide in his disc accessories so he can like throw them. So overall, the hands that you get are nice. I would have definitely liked to see the button pressing and the weapon holding hand come for the left hand too. I think it's ridiculous that they give you those just for one side. Even if he is right-handed, which I'm assuming he is, I would have definitely liked to see him on the other side. I'm pretty sure that when he presses the button to grow into Giant Man and Ant-Man, he does use his left hand, so he does have a button on both hands because he can push it on either hand. So I would have definitely liked to see the other side come with those hands. And then the only other complaint that I have is just looks like these hands. I don't know why let's see if we can zoom in on these. There you go. I don't know why it's, you know, sculpted where the actual wrist peg, instead of just being like over here, is up here. Because when you put it on him, then he's like, his hands are at a weird angle. I would have definitely liked just rather have them like this, you know, when you just plug them in here instead of having to plug them in like this. I think that it kind of gives you that weird look, and I'm not a fan of this. I've seen it happen before on figures. It just looks weird. I don't know why they don't put the wrist kind of like just parallel with the angle that the hand's going, and instead they put the wrist like going up. Very strange, and it gives them a weird appearance when they're actually on his hand. But that does just seem to be with the gestural hands, a bit with the relaxed palms. They do go up a bit, but definitely not as bad as the gestural hands. So overall, the hands that you get are decent, although definitely would have liked to see some more left hands that are parallel to the right hands. You do get a standard base with them. It's a standard Marvel style of base, which I do like. I think the shape is pretty good. You've got a nice nameplate that does say Ant-Man, Scott Lang. Has a little image of Ant-Man at the very center there at the bottom. The top is a nice kind of rough material, which means that he won't slide off of it or anything like that. You can pose him with his feet, just like his toe touching one side and then the heel of his foot touching the other side. He's not going to slide off because of that material, which is quite nice. You get a really great Ant-Man logo, very big, very prominent, with the Marvel logo up top. You do get these kind of like two, I don't know, just kind of like red colors, has some texture there. I'm not quite sure what those are supposed to be, but it adds a little more color to the base, and it does look quite nice. I definitely would love to see the Yellow Jacket base, considering that is all yellow, but done in the same style. I think that Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man would look just so great together. Unfortunately, though, it does look like we're not going to get that Yellow Jacket, but very nice. I do like the base a lot. It does have a good cradle, standard, you know, cradle that we see with all the Marvel bases, so yeah. Alright, so as far as the weapons go, he comes with 4 different items. They're all extremely small, though. You get 2 discs, one for shrinking things that has the red dot in the middle, and one for enlarging things that has the blue dot in the middle. Very glad that we are getting those, although I would have definitely liked more than just one of each, especially since he does throw multiple at a time in one point in the movie. So I would have liked to see some more of those discs. However, they are nice. I never really pose them with them. They're just so small that, you know, you can't really put them in a really cool pose with them, but it is still nice that they are included. I would be disappointed if they weren't included, basically. Then he comes with the 2 rectangular items. I believe that those are the actual like bombs that he shrinks down and puts on the ants, and then the ants fire, and then, you know, they blow up the Pym's building. I believe that that's what those are. It's really hard to tell what they are, though. I have to say, you know, when this figure went on pre-order, and whenever I watched the movie, I would try to look for those things because I could not figure out what they were for the longest time. But I believe that that's what they actually are. I find them unnecessary. Really, you don't need those in the slightest. So the discs are nice. You know, they're so small, they're not too impressive though. But I would have definitely liked some more of those because he does have multiple of them in the actual film. So. These are pretty much basically unnecessary accessories, but hey, everything that's included is welcome. You do get a mini Ant-Man, which basically every figure of Ant-Man comes with some sort of mini version of him, which is nice for pictures because then you have just a ton of different Ant-Mans at different scales, and you can put together a nice little picture of him kind of growing or shrinking. But here's the mini Ant-Man that this one comes with. It's very nice. It's in between the size of the Marvel Legends mini Ant-Man and the Diamond Select mini Ant-Man. So basically, if you're just looking for a size there, he is not in, he's in a different scale from these two Ant-Man, so again, you can have him growing and, you know, in different stages of growth, which is kind of neat. The actual design is really cool. He's just kind of standing on, you know, the pose is very simple, but it is nice. And it is quite well detailed and colored for how tiny of an item it is. It can be removed off the base. The base doesn't have any pegs for the feet or anything. Just has two kind of foot imprints, and then you just kind of put his feet in those imprints. And it actually does work where he stands. Without it, no, it doesn't look like he'll stand. Oh no, he will. Oh, but it is. But he does fall very easily. So. The base is nice that it is included. Would have been nice if he could stand on his own easily, though. And this does look quite nice. We will get another one when the new Ant-Man from Civil War comes out, where he's got his hands on his hips, and obviously in the new costume. And then we'll get another one with Black Widow, which will have him in this same type of scale, but he'll actually be in a pose, kind of like landing on the ground, which is really cool. So, really nice little guy. Definitely necessary for Ant-Man. However, the item itself, he can't do much with it. But I would be disappointed if we didn't get a mini Ant-Man with him too, so it is still quite nice. Alright, now to go over the actual figure, starting off with the head sculpt, first of all with the helmet. Looking very nice. I really do like this helmet. I think that in the actual promo images for this figure, the helmet looked really dirty and much more battle damage. Had a not so shiny look to the helmet, which looked nice, but I do prefer the type of the shinier look to it. However, getting it in person, it still has some of that damage or some of that wear to it, like you can see on the forehead there. However, it does have a really nice shiny look. Looks quite new and modern and almost resembles the Civil War as far as how shiny it is. So very nice. I really do like it. I feel like in person the helmet looks a lot cooler. I like the helmet from Iron Man when I do, but or not from Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man. But I really have found that I am more fond of the Civil War helmet. But getting this one in person, it actually does look really nice, and it doesn't look so rounded. I always thought that the Ant-Man 1 head sculpt or helmet looked really rounded, where like a person's head like couldn't actually fit in it. However, actually seeing how the helmet goes on and that the mouthpiece is really over the actual mouth of the person inside of it, you can see how it actually does fit. So let's take a look at the light up feature. Alright, so let's check out the lights. This is actually the first time I'm doing the lights. Getting the cap, getting the top of his head off to actually put on the lights is always difficult. I find that whenever I have to take off a panel or something, it is always quite a pain and I'm always worried about breaking it. But if you do use some force and pull it out from the front, you should be able to get it off without too much trouble. You put on the batteries, comes with 3 batteries, very simple. And then as you can see, just the switch on the top of his head. You switch it on, you can't see a difference at all until we turn off the lights, and there you go. You get a little something. Nothing too much. It actually looks pretty cool. You actually do get a decent amount of light. Now I have heard that this fades pretty fast. However, it is pretty cool to see the eyes lit up with red. You know, this is like that is how it looks in the movie. However, I feel like this is like extremely bright, and it is coming out of the side of his head. That I don't remember being part of the movie. However, I'm sure it is accurate, and it does look pretty cool. Very nice. You can see the his eyes inside. The light is up by his forehead, which is why you're just getting a bit of light up front in the mask, so you can still have the head with the Paul Rudd sculpt and still have it lit up. So very cool. I'm not super fond of this. I feel like if it didn't have a light up gimmick, I'd be fine. But it is still kind of interesting and neat, and it will make for some good pictures. So overall, the lights are pretty nice. Apparently, they do fade though pretty fast. But when you first turn them on, they are pretty decently bright. And it is nice that you can still have the Paul Rudd sculpt with actual having light up eyes. Now taking a look at the head sculpt underneath the helmet, which is of course Paul Rudd as Scott Lang as Ant-Man. So yeah, going over the actual sculpt, I think that it is quite nice. I feel like as soon as the promo images for this came out, everybody loved this head sculpt and thought it was dead on and just looked spectacular. And I've seen a lot of reviews where people think it's dead on and looks spectacular. In person, for me, whenever I saw the images of it, it looked nice, but it didn't look perfect. But I always thought maybe when I got it in hand, I would really come around and think that it would look perfect. And in hand, I still don't think it looks perfect. I think that it looks really good, but I just don't seem to have the same enthusiasm about it as everybody else. It looks nice, it certainly does. I think that the eyes and the way that the eyebrows and eyelashes kind of go over the eyes, I think is quite accurate. I feel like the nose is a bit off, and just, yeah, there's something not perfect about it to me, just personally. I really don't think that it looks as perfect as everybody thinks it does. But that's just my opinion, and I still think that it does look quite nice, don't get me wrong. I think it looks really good. I feel like it could be improved upon, but everybody seems to think that it is dead on. So yeah, there's just my opinions on it. It's still quite nice. I do think it's good. However, I just don't think it is perfect. Going over how this all collapses now, it's very nice. You do actually kind of just rotate it all up. Just basically this entire circular piece on each side does rotate up and down. And then you can just push the mouthpiece back up. As you can see, this just slides back. Same thing on the other side. And then this is very similar to an Iron Man face mask. It just pops right over it. It is on a magnet. Very simple and a really nice, interesting design. Very cool. You know, it's nice how they designed this whole helmet to be so functional. They could have given us one helmet and then another head that has the Paul Rudd with the mask down and everything like that. And, you know, the head without the head sculpt had the light in it. But they were able to give you a head that can be used as a helmet, and then it can have articulation to expose the face, as well as while it's in the helmet mode, it can still utilize the light feature. So very nice. I think that it's quite innovative by Hot Toys to be able to display all of the different functions of the helmet with just one sculpt. So very nice. Going over the actual suit, the suit is quite, it's great looking. It has a nice leather look to it. It's not super skin tight. You know, some of the superhero costumes, they're just completely skin tight. However, this one is quite baggy in some areas. I think that it does look quite excellent, and it really does give you that leather look, especially in the red. You have a nice kind of bumpy surface, and it's done well where you have the bright red in the middle, and as it gets to the side of the red areas, it does kind of darken, which I think gives some depth to the actual suit. The Civil War version does not have that. It does seem to just be pure red, where it is red. So I do like the kind of depth in the color of this. It gives it a more real-world type of feel, while the Civil War one is more of a comic-y type of look. But I like the Civil War one, so I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that the differences between the suits are quite nice, because it allows you to get both of the suits and still feel like you're getting two really different figures. So that's just in my opinion. Suit looks wonderful. I really do like it, and I like the gauntlets right here, the bracelets looking very nice, and the hands plug in, and it does seem to be a really good transition there. You don't see any part of the actual body or any piece like that. It does look like just one piece, which is quite nice. The pants are pretty bulky as well, as you can see, especially in that thigh area. It kind of gives them some big thigh type of look sometimes. I don't think it looks bad though. It looks pretty accurate to the movie to me, and I think that it is really quite good. And then the feet and everything are nice, and this is kind of just a separate shoe area. It's not quite a boot that goes up quite high. So overall, I really do love the look of the costume. really quickly, just touching on that belt, I wanted to mention these little side pieces of the belt. I'm not quite sure what their deal is. I wish that they would sit closer to the actual body, but instead they're out a bit at the top. They sit very close on the bottom, but at the top they are kind of out, which doesn't look great. And then you do actually get these little tubes there of the shrinking and growing pin particle that allows him to shrink and grow, and though they do just kind of slide in there, which is nice. You know, it's cool that you can take them out. They're a little unnecessary like his other accessories. However, they're still neat that they do include them. So that is very cool. So just overall, costume is quite nice. He has a great presence to him. He really does, and that's in no small part due to the actual costume. Alright, so as far as articulation goes, that's unfortunately where this figure does falter quite a bit. But first of all, just going over the head articulation, the head's really nice. You've got a ball joint at the top, which can allow you to do a lot, very side to side, up, down, very slightly. You don't get much up-down movement, but of course you get side to side completely. However, they did a great thing that I wasn't expecting, and gave you a second ball joint at the bottom, which is really nice. Gives you a good hinge where you can look down quite far, and look up extremely far as well, which is really nice. And then it does swivel. The swivel doesn't work super well, but it can swivel. Unfortunately, some of the pieces can get caught at the top there, so you got to be careful. But I really am a fan of that, and it's great that it can look down if you want to pose him with some like 3 3/4" figures, which I've done as like Giant Man. You can look down at them, which is really cool. The shoulders are quite hindered by the costume. The costume is a thick material, however, it's so baggy that you do have a lot of room with it, but especially on the shoulders, this shoulder piece is an extra layer of rubber that is attached to the inner, that's attached to the vest rather than just the arm, because it's attached to the vest at the top, and it's attached to the arm at the bottom, so you really can't do much. You could do a lot, but you are going to be seriously stressing that, and probably pull up the seams on either the suit or the vest. You can go up just about like that as a comfortable rate, I would say. You can go out a bit, however you do start to see this bow up instead of stay flush with the arm. Hinges with the elbows is quite nice. You are stressing the material, you're wrinkling it basically, but I don't think that it'll break it, and it's not going to leave wrinkles in the suit, which is nice. So you do get a decent bend there, and of course a pivot or swivel at the bicep, which is good. Hands are standard ball hinge. Torso, I don't feel like anything. Obviously there is torso articulation, but I think that it's underneath so many layers of leather and rubber and cloth that you really just don't get anything out of it, which is definitely disappointing. Thighs are pretty hindered as well. They can go up about this much, but as you can see, they do just tend to pop right back down, so you don't get much out of that. And then they can split about that much. Knees, very hindered again. You can get just about there, so maybe just under 90 degrees. And then the ankles are pretty decent. They are at a ball joint, so you do get a slight pivot. They go down and up slightly, so you do have full range in the ankles as far as what they can do, just they can't move very far any of the directions, which is definitely disappointing. So overall, articulation is rather disappointing. It's certainly not the best, and it is where this figure is falters the most, unfortunately. And just quickly, you can see him here holding one of his little discs. You know, it's great that he has them, but they're just so small that you can barely even tell what he's doing, which is a shame. But still, it is nice that he does include it. So overall, articulation is quite disappointing, but you're basically sacrificing the articulation for a really nice, great-looking costume. Alright, so overall this Hot Toys Ant-Man I think is a great figure. Just as far as looks go, absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of that helmet. I think that it looks a lot better in person than it even did in the promo images, and those images, it did look really good. So getting in person, it just looked fantastic. The actual Paul Rudd head sculpt, I think it's quite good. I don't think it's perfect. Costume itself, I think looks spectacular. Really nice as far as how baggy it is, and it is quite restricted, unfortunately, because the material is so thick. You do have a lot of restrictions in articulation. However, it is saved a bit by how baggy it is, which gives you, in certain places, a decent amount of articulation, such as the elbows, where you do have a really good double hinge there, as well as they did a great job articulating the helmet so that you can have a lot of good articulation in the neck there. As well as it's quite nice and innovative how they sculpted the actual helmet, allowing you to have it be a helmet, have the helmet move to see the Paul Rudd head sculpt, and to have the lights still in there with the Paul Rudd head sculpt. So very cool. Figure itself is excellent. I think some of the accessories comes with is unnecessary. However, I'd be disappointed if he didn't come with them because he did have them in the movie. They're a little unimpressive posing them with the actual figure. However, you know, that's what the character had in the movie. So, you know, Hot Toys has to work with what's in the movie. And, yeah, overall, love the design of the figure. I think it looks fantastic. He looks great if you pose him with Team Cap, which is where I currently have him with, and I think he looks excellent. I debated heavily whether to get this one or not. When he went on pre-order, it was a must-have for sure, but once the Civil War pictures came out and his costume looked really cool, and then the Hot Toys figure went on pre-order for Civil War, I debated whether to cancel this guy and just get the Civil War one, or to just get the Sandman, or just to get them both. I still haven't decided. The only thing I decided, of course, was to get the first Ant-Man as well. So I did purchase him. Very happy I did because he did sell out, which doesn't happen too often with a regular release Hot Toys figure. They don't sell out very fast, and this one sold out pretty much as soon as it went into stock, which is very cool. So this is definitely going to be a rare item. I would highly recommend you jump on it now if you want it, or if you're okay with the Civil War one, then I just wait for that. I am still considering the Civil War one. I haven't decided if I'm going to be picking that one up as well. But even if I don't, I would have to tell you that I'd be very happy with this figure because it is really nice and does represent Ant-Man's first solo film, first seeing him in a movie at all, and then first time seeing his costume, of course, which does hold something special in it of its own. So yeah, so there you go. That's my review of the Hot Toys Ant-Man figure. Thanks so much for watching.